The FBI Director Christopher Wray will face a contempt of Congress vote coming up.
This after Republican leaders turning down his offer to privately review. This is what he said y'all could go and do. He said to Comer, you can privately review an informant file that allegedly links President Joe Biden to a major bribery scheme.
Right, a scheme that was brought up to the Admiral Kirby yesterday. Mark Meredith joins us live from the White House. Hey, Mark.
Brian Ainsley and Lawrence, good morning to you guys. The battle between the FBI director and the House Oversight Committee certainly getting more bitter. We now know, of course, that the House Oversight Committee plans to hold the director of the FBI in contempt for refusing to turn over a document to lawmakers. The committee is seeking a confidential memo, which is believed to be a source's allegations of corruption made years ago against then Vice President Joe Biden. The FBI says it's willing to let Congressman Comer see this document, but only under certain conditions. The FBI telling Fox, quote, Director Wray offered to provide the committee chairman and ranking member an opportunity to review information responsive to the subpoena in a secure manner to accommodate the committee while protecting the confidentiality and safety of sources and important investigative sensitivities. The FBI remains committed to cooperating with the committee in good faith. Comer's calling that hogwash.
He offered us the opportunity to come look at it in a private shift, but he was going to redact it. My experience with getting documents from the FBI when they're redacted, it's all black lines. They don't show anything.
Closer to the White House, it continues to face questions about influence peddling and the allegations being made against the first son, Hunter Biden. Traditionally, the White House says they simply have no comment. They just referred to the Justice Department. But yesterday, a reporter from the New York Post appeared to stun the press team with his question. Take a listen.
Harvard-Harris poll this month that found that 53% of the public, including a fourth of Democrats, believe, quote, Joe Biden was involved with his son in an illegal influence peddling scheme. So what do you say to the majority of Americans who believe that the president is himself corrupt?
Wow. Jesus. Can I take that question?
The president has spoken to this. The president has spoken to this, and there's nothing to these claims.
Congressional Republicans say they continue to investigate these claims, though, especially as the 2024 election inches ever closer. And there was a piece in the New York Post this morning by Miranda Devine. She says she's tracked down a witness who appeared to vanish just as he was starting to cooperate with congressional investigators. This man says he's gone into hiding because he's fearful of retaliation by the U.S. government for cooperating with the investigation into the president's family. But, of course, there's still so many questions about where Congress will head with its investigation. Lawrence, Ainsley, and Brian?
Hey, Mark, what's your take on that Admiral Kirby reaction?
Well, I think, first of all, Admiral Kirby represents the national security component of the White House. You can imagine that he was there to answer a variety of questions, whether it be about China and Russia. He doesn't usually get asked those questions. I think he handled his composure, handled the question very well. It was not his traditional wheelhouse, but the White House has also traditionally refused to answer any questions about the first family. So I think that's why that reporter chose to go to Kirby as opposed to trying the press secretary directly.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe that was it. Thanks, Mark. And the other thing to keep in mind, he said, well, the president's already answered that. No, he hasn't. The president never answered anything like that. Peter Doocy will shout a question at him, and he'll say make a statement that I never talked to my son about any overseas business dealings. Never answered who's one question. Do you know Tony Bobulinski, and are you aware of his accusations?
Well, and yesterday when we were talking to Congressman Comer, he said, we read him the statement from the FBI. They said, we are talking to Congress. We are in communications with them. He said, that is not true. He said, I am going to be speaking to him later today, to Christopher Wray, but so far, no. Then he said, continue to read the statement, and I said, they are saying that this could be either under investigation or they're worried about risking people's lives with releasing this information. And he said, well, they're able to redact it. And he said, because the risking of the lives is pretty scary. So they need to redact names if they have to. But also, I said, is there an open investigation into Hunter Biden? He said, Ainsley, how long has this been going on? He said, for years. If there is an open investigation, why is it still open after all of these years?
So a couple things on that, Ainsley. First of all, who does the FBI director think he is? I mean, that wasn't a request. There wasn't a request for a meeting. The request was to turn over the document. And now they're trying to have some sort of negotiation in this
I'll
process.
let you come in and read it, but you can't take it.
When Congress has oversight. By the way, the documents that they said that they can come in and read, Comer said on Hannity last night that it was a redacted version of it. So they're not even able to see the full document. Number three, Comey has already said you can redact the names. I would have redacted the names, but we still want to see the full document as well. So again, it looks like.
So he's fearful that more is redacted, not just the names.
That's exactly right. He said in his years of Congress, every time he allows the FBI to do some redaction, then the whole sheet is black. He said at the end of the day, I already know what's in this document. I just want to have it as a secondhand have the actual document from the FBI to verify that everything that I saw before is true. And it looks like the FBI director doesn't want to play ball. They should haul his tail into Congress. And I wonder if the Department of Justice is going to hold him accountable for this. Because, again, once the Speaker of the House signs that document to hold him in contempt, the Department of Justice has to enforce that. Who is his boss?
The former is called FD 1023. And I'm just wondering when that whistleblower came forward and said about this $5 million alleged scheme that Joe Biden directly benefited from, why did the FBI or did the FBI follow up on their own investigation? Their response has been, this is unverified. This is one person's point of view, okay? An FBI agent that went through an extensive background check that I imagine has a track record. Did you follow up on the President of the United States? Is he compromised? Is he taking bribe money? Are you even curious? You wouldn't even admit they had the document until recently. Now you know you have the document. And here's the thing. When you go into the SCIF and you read it, if it's heavily redacted, you say, that was my one shot. I guess I got to come back with the subpoena. He says, no, I want it out. It's unclassified. It should be out. I'm worried overall at the whole whistleblower thing. When you watch those 4 FBI agents from 2 weeks ago, see how their lives are ruined when they came forward. The IRS guy, this guy, whistleblower, disappeared because he's worried about himself. Then you wonder what Edward Snowden, who I was condemning, saying, why did you go through the whistleblower process? Maybe this is why. Because he had something to say, and he is not a bonded law enforcement official. Right. These guys and these women, maybe it's a woman, I don't know, are, and they have to look out for themselves.
Yeah, so they need protection.
Even when you go through the proper channels, they still stonewall.
Right.
I mean, this is not the way things are supposed to work in this country. There has to be some sort of accountability. And again, this is not just about the politics of the former president and the current president and his son. This is about if the FBI can get away with this with 2 powerful individuals like this, what are they doing to everyday Americans?
Well, and think about this. What if the Republicans hadn't won the House? We wouldn't be investigating this. We wouldn't be investigating the origins of COVID. We wouldn't be investigating the border crisis. They've had so many different hearings that we've been reporting since January because Republicans are leading in the House.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.